Welcome to the Bougie Baldy Podcast with your host, Kelly Rhymes.
Hi, and welcome back to the Bougie Baldy Podcast. I am your host, Kelly Rhymes, and I am a women's hair loss support and authenticity coach. And I help women with their mental and emotional challenges due to hair loss. I help them through their journey so that they can regain their confidence throughout their hair loss journey. Today, I am interviewing, and not just interviewing, I'm going to say we are having a good casual conversation with Jean Pickford. She is the director of the Scarring Alopecia Foundation. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Jean and as far as how we met. And this was just kind of divine for me because I was actually online looking for a stage and a platform and an organization where I could speak to women who are experiencing hair loss. And I reached out to someone who is connected to the Scarring Alopecia Foundation through LinkedIn, just asking the question like, hey, how can I potentially speak at the conference that you all have coming up? And she referred me to Jean. And once I met Jean, she is just a beaming light, right? She is dedicated to helping women with hair loss, specifically women with scarring alopecia. And not just women, let me not say that, because the Scarring Alopecia Foundation helps everyone, not just women. It's just that a lot of times women gravitate to the organization, but it helps everyone. But I am going to stop here and I am going to allow this wonderful woman to introduce herself to you guys. Jean, go ahead and take it away.
Oh, thank you so much, Kelly. I'm so happy to be here and be able to talk to your podcast audience. So, as she said, my name is Jean Pickford, and I am the executive director of the Scarring Alopecia Foundation. The organization started in 2005 by a patient and a doctor out in California who felt that there was a need for an organization to help patients with this unique form of alopecia. Scarring alopecia is different than alopecia areata. And so they thought there should be another organization that helps support some of the emotional and medical needs of this type of hair loss disease. And so it formed in 2005 and moved around the country a couple different places and eventually landed in my lap. I am a nonprofit patient advocacy, administration, strategic planning. And my whole career has been in the nonprofit sector. I originally started fresh out of college. I wanted to live near my boyfriend. So I answered an ad in the newspaper, the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I landed a job as an administrative person for a disease called Tay-Sachs. And that's where I got my feet wet into the rare disease world. And then I went to the American Heart Association, and then I went to another rare disease group called ichthyosis. And it was through all those opportunities that I really honed my skills for fundraising and for understanding the nonprofit environment, understanding how to run an organization so that we could be more effective and helping the patients that these organizations serve. And so the same person that Kelly met on LinkedIn actually knew me at a meeting, and she came over and she said, hey, do you have any free hours? We really could use your help. And I just, looked into it, fell in love with the purpose, fell in love with the mission, fell in love with the patients, and said, you know what, I'm in. And so that's how I started. And I've been with the organization now for 7 years. And I have grown it from, I think when I took over, I think we had about 3,000 records or patients were in our database. And now we have almost 8,000. So over the course of the past 7 years, we've got 5,000 new patients. But to me, that's a good thing that people are finding us and are part of our organization and receiving support and resources from us. But it's also, to me, a bad thing because that means more people are being diagnosed with this hair loss condition, right? And it's, and I always like to tell people when they're like, well, what exactly is it? I always like to say that it's like a coin, right? If you flip it, there's two sides. There's the medical side of understanding what is actually happening to your hair. What is the medical thing that's causing it? And there's also, how do I treat it? So that falls on the medical side of the coin, but then you flip it over and there's this whole psychosocial, like mental aspect to the disease because you've now had a full head of hair. For women, particularly in society, hair is a big part of our identity, right?
Yeah.
We really, really value our hair and how we style it and how we look. And so all of a sudden to have this condition start and you start losing your hair and you don't really know why or how, it can be in a big emotional, event in your life. And,
Yeah.
Kelly, I'm sure you speak to
Yeah.
this, but,
Yeah, definitely. And look, that's why I'm here.
yeah,
That's why I
yeah,
support the
yeah,
women, like
yeah,
on that emotional and mental side. Exactly. Because
yeah,
I experienced it.
yeah. And some people who I've spoken with over the years almost feel like they don't really want to, or they don't actually feel worthy enough to feel these feelings because it's not a terminal disease. It's not going to kill them. It's not something that we hear the phrase all the time. It's just hair. What's the
Hmm.
big deal? But until it affects you and affects affects somebody that you love, you really don't get it. And so some patients are really struggling with coming to terms with like, I'm allowed to feel this way. I'm allowed to feel like grief that I'm losing my hair. I'm allowed to feel, embarrassed or ashamed, but they almost don't want to actually admit it because they just feel like they're not, it's not respectful of other diseases and other conditions.
Right, right. And I can also attest to that as well because it's like, okay, I felt the same way. I should not be complaining because
Right.
this is, something minor compared to me having maybe cancer or, something that is really, really life-threatening. So who am I to complain? Who am I to feel all of these emotions and then say this to different people when, it is my hair and it is important to me,
Yeah.
but like you
Yeah.
said, that's a
Yeah.
reason why, another reason, not just the only, but that's another reason why a lot of women or people, I mean, stop saying just women, a lot
Mhm.
of people don't say much or they don't even maybe reach out for the support they may need because they're
Right.
in their minds thinking, I don't have the right to,
Correct.
complain
Correct.
or say anything about this.
Right. So they stay kind of like on the fringe and they
Yeah.
read stuff and they listen maybe to some webinars or some of them may come on our organization support groups and not really show their face, their name, but they're just all, and there's just so many patients out there that can really benefit from the organization, the camaraderie of just being with other people and having
Mhm.
that connection, like, hey, they know, they get it. They know what I'm going through. Like, oh, or somebody may share a story and be like, oh, that's exactly what happened to me. And so
Mhm.
as a human being, connection is such a big part of how people experience their journeys and how they react to things. And so when you're connected to a group of people that get it, it really can be life-changing.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Now let's take a step back because I know a lot of people who may be watching, they may not have scarring alopecia because people who watch this have all types of hair loss.
Okay.
So I want to kind of say or explain just a little bit what scarring alopecia is. And basically, it is when your hair follicles become damaged. So basically, there is a loss of hair. The hair follicle, pretty much, if you want to think of it as dies, it dies, or I'm not going to even say go dormant, because when it dies and your scalp kind of scars, then there's no more regrowth. There's no chance for regrowth. And that's when it has gotten too far. Now, is a chance that you could potentially save your hair if you catch it early. But if you don't, then it's kind of like a lost cause. And there are about 12 different types of scarring alopecia. So don't think that scarring alopecia, when we say it, that's just like one, just one form of alopecia. No, within scarring alopecia, there are 12 different types. And correct me if I'm wrong, is it 12 or is it more than that at this point?
Actually, I think there may be a few more, but
Okay.
ironically that you bring that up, there's a group of physicians and researchers who are actually working right now. They met a few weeks ago together to reclassify some of the scarring alopecias because more have kind of either popped up or they're being combined with female pattern hair loss. So they're seeing like a scarring and a female pattern hair loss. So there's some distinctions that have popped up over the years that
Okay.
they're looking to reclassify. So I wouldn't necessarily hone it down to 12, but like you said, it's a class. It's a class of hair loss conditions. And basically the medical term for scarring is cicatricial. And for years, we were known, our organization was known as the Cicatricial Alopecia Research Foundation. And it's a hard word to say, it's a hard word to spell, and it's a hard word to find, right? So we as an organization a few years ago decided, like, we're going to we want to appeal to the masses. If you get a cicatricial alopecia diagnosis, what is that? What does it stand for? But scarring is a little bit more descriptive and a little more layman. But so yeah, you're right. The hair loss, the follicle is destroyed. It falls out, a scar forms over, and the hair that was in that follicle will never regrow again. So you now have a permanent bald spot right there. And as it progresses, it can take over larger parts of your hair. You can lose some of the frontal part of your hair. You can lose it above your ears. You can use it on the patchiness. And the key to this whole hair loss is that if it's caught early, like you said, it can be treated and you can save some of the hair follicles that are about to die, that haven't fully died completely. You can have some regrowth and you can save some of your hair. But that's the key to this whole disease, is to find it early. And unfortunately, it can be very quiet and very subtle for many years. It's not all of a sudden you like wake up one morning and like your hair's missing. It slowly happens over a period of time, and patients may not really understand what it is right away until it gets to the point where it becomes a little bit more troublesome.
Yeah. And another part of that is when I first noticed that my hair was coming out, eventually, it took me some time, but when I eventually went to a dermatologist,
Yeah.
he didn't give me any options. Like, he just was like, "Oh, I know what this is. You have, scarring alopecia," and he didn't offer any support, any like things I should do,
Yep.
nothing.
Yep.
So for you guys out there, if you have that type of experience, you want to go get another opinion, or you want to go speak to another professional, because what that did for me, that left me with thinking, oh, there's nothing I can do. When if I would have had the information that I have now, I could have saved a lot of my hair, but I was told that there was nothing I could do. So that was not necessarily all my fault. I guess I could have done some research on my own, but when you listen to a doctor, you're like, okay, well, this is what the doctor says, so
Exactly.
I'm accepting
Exactly.
it.
They're the expert. They know, right? Yes.
Mhm,
That's how we were raised. The doctor knows. So.
Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
Now, you touched on the history, a little bit of the Scarring
Mhm.
Alopecia Foundation. Can you talk or a little bit more about the mission?
Okay, so I like to describe to people, the mission of the organization is research, education, and support, right? And so, if you look at it like a house, right, and you got the peak of the roof, that at the top of the roof is your mission. That's what you want to achieve. And ultimately, what we want to do is put ourselves out of business. We want to find a cure for this disease, right? So that it's no longer an issue. So that's ultimately the top mission. But in order to achieve that, we have pillars that kind of hold up your roof, right? And so the one pillar is all about support and having a place to come when you're newly diagnosed or you're going through a journey, a medical journey, and you just need that warm place to feel included. And then the middle pillar is the education pillar, which is being able to be the leading authority anywhere on this disease, so that when you are diagnosed, like you, Kelly, you maybe could have come back home and gone on the internet and looked up cicatricial alopecia, and then we pop up and you can learn and read more about medically vetted information that's gone through the rigor of our board, has gone through the rigor of our medical board. So all the information that we have is sound, right? It's not hearsay, it's not somebody's opinion, it's actually founded in fact. So we want to be that middle pillar, is the education. And then the other pillar is the research and the science part of it. We as an organization want to accelerate research into this type of hair loss. There's not a lot going on right now on it. We suspect, or I think we feel very strongly that it's a growing population, and there's many patients out there that have some form of this, but they don't know it, and they're not being diagnosed correctly. And we need to get some type of number together so that we can quantify how many people actually have this, so that we can show researchers and scientists and pharma that this is a growing hair loss condition, and we need help, and we need you to put resources towards studying this, because more and more people are being affected.
Yeah.
And so that's the mission, that's the research part. So really it's three pillars for our organization. And then in order to hold those pillars, which hold your roof, you need to have a very strong basement or a foundation of your house. I call it the house model when I describe this.
Mhm.
And you need to have a strong volunteers. You need to have a strong communication program so that you can get the word out. You need to have a board of directors who can guide and govern the organization. You need to have a fundraising plan so that you can raise the money so that you can do the work. You need to have a strategic plan so that you have a direction and a focus, so you're not, jumping at any, what's that, the shiny nickel or
Shiny.
whatever. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
The shiny penny. You
Yep.
don't want to always jump at the shiny penny. You want to be real focused. And where can we have the biggest impact as an organization for the community at large, right?
Mhm.
And so all those little pieces are what I call the infrastructure, to me, underlie your house. That's your foundation. Then you have your pillars, and then you have the peak of the roof, which is your mission. So all of those things factor into a very healthy, well-run organization.
Okay. Now, there's a few things within that mission that you just talked about that I want to dive a little bit deeper into.
Okay.
So, the first one is going to be support.
Okay.
I know that the Scarring Alopecia Foundation has several ways that you all support people. So, for example, we had our CCCA support meeting last night. I'm a leader for that, as well as Courtney. So, you guys, that's once a month. So, you can go to the website and check that out, but there are different types of support groups. So Jean, can you talk about the support groups and the additional support that the organization offers?
Sure. Yeah, I'd love to. We really pride ourselves in the support groups because when COVID hit, and a lot of, there were some private small groups around the country that met in person, but not everybody had access to a support group, right?
Mhm.
So if you were in, Idaho, or you were in the middle of, Wyoming, and you were diagnosed with this, like you can't just go to a metropolitan area and join some type of hair loss support group.
Mhm.
Um, so when COVID hit, we switched everything to online. And so now we have these support groups there. There's a CCCA one, like you said last night.
Mhm.
And then there's one that we do on the first Tuesday of every month. And we call it all types, because like you said, there are many types of this type of hair loss. So anybody with any type of scarring alopecia can come on this. And it's about a 90-minute support group. We have support group leaders who are trained, who can manage a crowd or can manage questions, and keep the conversation flowing. And we rotate the subject matter. So one month it will be about treatments. And so the whole 90 minutes will be patients can come on and ask questions. There's dialogue. There's a lot of sharing about treatments. The second one that we host is about camouflaging techniques, and that's like wigs and toppers and different ways that patients can, feel good in how they appear.
Mhm.
And then the third one is the support part, right? And that's
Okay.
more of the mental and the emotional part of it. Like some women experience depression. Some women don't want to share, or I shouldn't say women, but some people don't want to share it with their spouse. Some people don't tell their family that they have it. So there's a lot of emotional stuff that goes along with it. So that third one is the support. And so we have almost 100 people come onto these support groups. And like I said, they can come on and listen. They can black out their screen. They can get to take their name off and just listen. Or they can actively participate, raise their hand, ask a question. Or they can just, kind of nod their head and feel the camaraderie of this patient group. And so, yeah, and then we have a third support group. So we have the all types, which is lots of people. We have
Mhm.
CCCA, which is specific for this type of hair loss. And then we have one in the UK for CCCA, because there was a large cohort of patients there who were looking for some support as well. And we are the only patient advocacy organization in the world. There is no other group that does what we do.
Okay.
Although we're primarily based in the US and our work is primarily here because that's where it was formed and that's where I live. And, we
Mhm.
do have patients and members from all over the world that are in our database. And so we are providing resources and support to anybody, anywhere in the world.
And you also offer one-on-one support, right? So if
We
people
do.
want to really talk to someone and pick up the phone and just have a conversation and get that type of support, that is available as well.
Yeah, we have some really seasoned hair loss patients who are really well versed in the disease and also well versed in the emotional aspects of it. So sometimes patients may not want to go on a call. They just want to maybe talk to one individual and just vent or whatever it is. We have that. And by going through our website, you can ask us and we will match you with, we call them POVs, patient outreach volunteers. And we will connect you with somebody and you will actually have one-on-one, like just a friend. You become friends and they're there and they want to be your friend.
And can you talk about the volunteers just a little bit? Because I know there are a lot of volunteers that help make all of this happen. And I guess on the other part of that, do you need more volunteers? Are there people are there, I guess I should say, is there space
Oh,
or
there's
room for more volunteers and what does the organization need?
Well, that's a really great question. And as a patient advocacy organization, there's only 2 staff people. So we're very limited paid staff. But we get a lot of our work done through volunteers because they have a passion for this and they want to help. And one of the areas that we really could use some help in is educating hairstylists and telling them about our organization and letting them know about some of the common things that are classic, perhaps symptoms of scarring alopecia, so that when they do have a client that they see and their hair is changing or their scalp is changing after they see their client, every 6 to 8 weeks, have the knowledge and the forethought to just, they don't have to diagnose it. We just want a hairstylist to say, hey, I noticed that there's something going on. The last time I cut your hair, it's looking a little thinner here, or whatever it may be. It could be nothing, but I think you should probably check it, get it checked out, because there could be a way that we could stop this, or we can get ahead of it.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
share the organization. We have medical brochures that we have created that I can give out and patients can take to their hairstylist, or there's also a video on our website that was designed. It was about a 16-minute video done by a well-known hair expert, Dr. Marianne Senna. And it's for hairstylists. And
Mhm.
basically it will ask you questions at the beginning about what you know about hair loss. Then she'll do like a 10-15 minute tutorial and show you pictures and talk through it. And then she asks you the same questions. And it's interesting because you will see that the answers from the beginning to the answers at the end change, because there may be characteristics that a hairstylist just didn't recognize or didn't know was part of this condition.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now, you talked about the hairstylist and maybe the lack of knowledge as far as, where to direct people to if they're seeing hair loss. Do you guys do anything else like in the community to bring awareness to scarring alopecia? Do you have anything coming up to bring awareness to
Yes,
alopecia?
yes, yes. We do have Scarring Alopecia Awareness Month. We call it NSAM, NSAAM, National Scarring Alopecia Awareness Month. And that is in September. And we will have a program around it. We will do a social media campaign. We will do a press release. But what we are trying to do is recruit patients to be boots on the ground for us, to, speak at a Rotary Club meeting or go to their women's group and ask for the floor for 5 minutes, or go to their several hair salons in their area and drop off a brochure. I mean, the stronger and the more people that know about this and the more people that realize what it is, the better off we're going to be in getting patients diagnosed sooner and stopping this progression. So it's like a trickle down effect, right? We need more people to be doing work. We need more people to understand it. We need more patients to be diagnosed early, and then we need pharma and we need science to recognize that it's actually there's a very well-known dermatologist, hair loss expert. His name is Dr. Jerry Shapiro, and he works out of NYU Langone. And he has been quoted, and I repeat it, this is an epidemic, this hair loss. We're seeing more and more patients with this type of hair loss. And he also calls it a follicular emergency. So when you see that you're starting to thin, you need to get checked out right away so that you can, start treatment if it is one of the forms of scarring hair loss.
Now, along those lines, and I'm going to ask you the question, and then we're going to take a brief pause, but tell me how much support in the medical industry or in big pharma are you guys receiving as far as when it comes to scarring alopecia? I mean, is there a lot of research going towards this? Are big companies donating funds to the organization? Or what is maybe happening on the research and development side to kind of come up with some cures or just do more research around scarring alopecia? But before you answer that, let me take a quick pause and listen to a short message. Are you a woman struggling with hair loss, feeling unattractive and insecure? At Limitless Mindset Coaching, we understand the emotional toll that hair loss can take. In just 90 days, we help you transform from feeling lost and embarrassed to radiating with confidence and joy. Imagine building your self-esteem, discovering the perfect camouflage techniques to cover up your hair loss. Receive tips and tricks that can help you with your hair loss and help you embrace the new you while connecting with a supportive community of women just like you. Say goodbye to negative emotions and hello to a positive mindset. Picture vibrant new relationships, walking into the room with your head held high, participating in those social events and activities again, and living life filled with happiness. Ready to take the first step? Well, just visit www.limitlessmindsetcoach.com, or you could click the link in the description. Today, let's embark on this empowering journey together.
So I think when you ask that question, I have mixed answers for you. The first is that there's not a lot of awareness in the pharmaceutical industry about this hair loss condition. And we're doing everything we can to bring it to their attention. There are doctors who are treating other patients with alopecia areata and other forms of hair loss, and these physicians, as you know, there are FDA approved treatments that actually came on the market. There's 3 now, over the past several years for alopecia areata. And these are called JAK inhibitors. And it's a medication that inhibits the problem on the JAK-STAT pathway, which is a pathway that's inside of our bodies. And these medications are actually having patients with alopecia areata growing hair. And so there is success, there has been success with these medications being prescribed off-label to patients with scarring alopecia, and we're seeing a lot of success with them.
Okay.
So I do believe that hopefully in the very near future, scarring alopecia will then become a priority among the pharmaceutical industry, because now they realize that the drugs that have been developed for, that are already in existence actually help scarring alopecia patients.
Mm-hmm.
And if we as an organization can let them know how many people have it, it will become a big part of their, their customer base, right? They're going to have patients with this, they're going to have a treatment for it. So it'll become very profitable for a pharmaceutical company to take on our disease.
Okay.
So that's really what's going on right now in the world of science. When I started, there was really not a lot. Like 7 years ago, when I took over this job, it was a lot of topical steroids and injections and creams and anti-inflammatory, because that's really what the underlying process is that causes this, is
Mhm,
an inflammatory attack.
mhm,
And so there was a lot of things to try to help stop the progression and help the patient, but there was never anything really specific for this hair loss.
uh-huh,
And so now it's exciting because the horizon is looking brighter and brighter, because this new class of drugs, these JAK inhibitors, are actually really helping. And so we believe we will be the next group of hair loss patients that will then gain the attention using these drugs. So there's hope on the horizon for patients. And, there's studies that are out there. We have lots of this information on our website. We try to stay up to date on what's going on with these studies, so that we can take the information that's super scientific. And we have med students that volunteer for us, and they rewrite these very dense medical articles and put them in layman's terms. And it's like a half a sheet of paper, it's a half a, and so as a patient, you can come in and just read and get the general gist of what's going on without having to navigate through all the medical jargon and whatnot, and understand the scientific part of it.
mhm.
So there's hope. Like I really feel like there's going to be some new things coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, and I recently learned, and this was last night, and then I saw it on your website, metformin.
Yeah.
Metformin is a diabetic drug, but they are prescribing it in lower dosages, and it's people with CCCA are being prescribed this to help regain
Yes.
or regrow hair. So,
Yes, Dr. Crystal Agu. She is one of our, advocates for our organization. She does lots of webinars for us. She's the one who led that study and learned all this. And so yes, metformin is being prescribed.
yeah. So you guys, that website is key. You heard us say it several times.
Yeah.
Go to the Scarring Alopecia Foundation's website and check it out, because it is a wealth of knowledge. Okay.
One other thing I want to share is that
Mhm,
there is some connection with allergens, right? Allergens that may be causing some of this. And so we do have some articles about ingredients that you should avoid that can potentially be a trigger for this inflammatory process to start. So I encourage patients, because we get that all the time, is like, what should I stay away from? What product shouldn't I use? We
mhm.
have that information on our site as well.
Okay. Okay. Now, let's get into something big that is happening for the foundation, and that is your conference that is coming up in April. So, can you talk about the conference that is happening in Nashville on, is it April 4th through the 6th,
You
correct?
got it. You got it. Yep. It's so exciting because we have not had an in-person patient conference since 2018 in Philadelphia. So we picked Nashville. We want people to come with their cowboy hats and their boots. We're going to have some line dancing lessons on the Saturday night of that weekend, a big dinner. Um, and we're gonna have a really well-rounded agenda and program that focuses on every aspect of this disease. And so patients are encouraged to sign up. Our deadline is March 23rd. The conference is April 4th through the 6th. The cost is $419, and that includes 7 meals. So you will get breakfast, you will get lunch on Friday, breakfast and lunch on Friday,
Mhm.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Saturday, and then breakfast and lunch on Sunday. So really the cost is to cover the food, really is what the cost is. But we have all of our medical board members and leaders in hair loss are volunteering and coming to this conference to speak in person about the latest treatments, about how to camouflage your hair, about what products to use and not to use. We're going to have breakouts specific on CCCA and FFA and LPP, which are the most common types, where you're going to be in a room with people who know and study this disease and other patients, and you're going to have all of this information at your fingertips. There's going to be conversations like in the hallway. You're going to have lunch and dinner and with some of these doctors. Like, this is such a unique experience when you are living with this condition, to have this group of experts in one location at one time. It's really unheard of. And then the best part is we're going to do 2 patient panels. on Saturday of the conference, we're going to have a patient panel that's going to be led by 2 expert physicians who are going to ask questions of the 7 or 8 patients that are on this panel to describe and explain the burden of this disease, the medical burden, what is actually, the diagnostic odyssey, I knew my hair was thinning, but I didn't know, nobody told me what it was. I got caught too late, and all that stuff. We as an organization need to get this on film and on documented so that we can use this information to inform the industry people that this is this is an unmet need. This is a burden. And that'll be on Saturday. And then on Sunday, we're going to do something very similar, but not about the medical part, but about the psychological part of it, the emotional journey of this diagnosis, so that we can combine both of this and really create the case for why scarring alopecia should be, gain more attention and more studies.
Okay, so you guys, if you have scarring alopecia and you are looking for a wealth of information, be around a group of people who are experiencing the same thing you're experiencing, basically creating a community and be able to actually talk to physicians in person about whatever you want to talk to them about regarding your hair loss, this will be a great opportunity to do that over 3 days, right?
Yes, and after every session, there's going to be a live Q&A, and we'll have microphones. So if you don't have your question answered in their lecture, you can go and ask the question. It's going to be interactive. I think the physicians are more excited sometimes than the patients, because, this is going to be a place where we're going to have hundreds of scarring alopecia patients in one spot. So it's really like fun for them, fortunately, to be around these individuals and learn from you, because they learn from our patients as well as to what's going on. And some of the brightest ideas can come from this cohort of physicians, patients, and industry.
Yes. So if you guys are interested in participating and attending the conference, make sure you go to the Scarring Alopecia's website and you can register there. And I am going to be putting all of the links for the Scarring Alopecia Foundation, just for the website, for the conference, all of that will be in the description of this episode. So you can just click on it and go check it out and make sure you pick up a ticket. I will be there. I'll be one of the speakers. So you guys come out. You're used to seeing me online. Come see me in person. I will be sharing the stage with a trichologist, the one we were just speaking about, Lorna, who's from the UK. She is flying all the way from the UK to come to this conference to support you guys. So you can show up. If she can show up, you can show up, right?
Yeah, we only have it. I mean, I don't know when the next one's going to be, so take advantage of this. And it's a great location. And the best part is we have a hotel that's right next to the airport. So if you fly in, there's no cost to travel. Just get off the plane, get on the shuttle, and you're at the airport. You're at the hotel, and we'll all be there. And it'll be a great party, but it'll also be an educational experience.
Well, I will be there with my cowboy boots on, ready to learn a new dance. And to also get all of this good information as well that we'll be presenting.
Yeah, I can't wait.
So do you have anything else you would like to share in regards to what the Scarring Alopecia Foundation has coming up, or anything you just want to share with the audience?
Well, just want to share that we're here for you. We are here. We do not charge a fee to become a member of this organization. Once you click on it and you give us your name and address, you will be added to our mailing list. You'll get information emailed to you. We certainly are supported by donations. So if you can afford to make a donation to the organization, that is great, but it is not a requirement. Our mission is to help patients, right? So wherever stage you're at in your journey, we are an organization that has information and resources for you throughout that whole process. And I'd say the biggest highlight that I would like you to know is that this is a well-run organization that is governed by a board of directors and guided by a medical board. So all the information that comes from us is scientifically valid and correct and has gone through a review process. So you know that when you're coming to this organization that you're getting the most accurate information. Today with the internet and just people being able to do whatever they want, they can post things and whatever, sometimes it's like, what's the source of this information, or who said this? When you're coming to the Scarring Alopecia Foundation that it's sound.
Okay. Now, quick question about the conference.
Yeah.
Will there be a option for people to watch virtually, or is it only in person?
It's only in person. We are only doing in person. We believe as an organization that this is such a personal disease, and this is something that you would be best experienced together as a group. And we will be summarizing some of the lectures and things like that. Certainly there'll be a highlight reel that will come after the conference. But in order for you to gain the information, the education, we want people to come and be together.
Okay. I just had to ask you because I know somebody's going to say, well, can I attend virtually? So now we know. No,
yes.
You cannot.
Exactly. Well, you're not the first person. That's not the first person that's going to ask. That's one of the biggest questions we get.
Exactly. All right. So I'm going to wrap up this conversation, and I just want to hear if you have, or if you're able to, tell us a success story, maybe from one of the patients who came to the organization, and they may have came broken but left healed. Do you happen to have anything off the top of your head?
I do. I have a lot of stories, but one in particular really, I say this one frequently, but she was a patient from New York, and we had our conference in 2018 in Philadelphia, and she called me and she wasn't sure if she should go. She really was uncomfortable with her hair loss, and she felt like she would stand out, and she was embarrassed, and she was really in a spot where she was not wanting to go. Mm-hmm. And she actually bought a hat, like a little cap that had hair, so she would wear that. And so when she wore her cap, it looked like she had cute little pixie cut. Mm-hmm. But really she was primarily bald. Okay. And she came to the conference the first day, and she found me in the lobby, and she was annoyed. She said to me, you know what, you told me to come, you convinced me that this was the right place for me. And I got here, and I'm looking around, and all of these women have hair. All of these women look beautiful, and they have hair, and they all are, or nobody looks like me. And I said to her, stick around, catch up with me on Sunday, and let me know if you still feel the same way. And sure enough, she came to me on Sunday, and she apologized, and she said, oh my God, they're all like me. Everybody has their own way that they're living with it. And I choose to wear this hat with this little fringe. Other people style their hair and comb it over. Other people embrace it and just live and go bald. She's like, and I did not realize that all these people here are all in the same boat. And I judged and I looked based on how they looked, and not really what was truly going on until I got to know them. And I said, that's exactly it. So, that really touched my heart, because of course, when somebody says, oh my God, why am I here? You told me to come. I was upset. Like, I want you, right? But it really, it was really very heartwarming for me to hear from her at the end of the conference.
Okay. That was a great story to end with. Thank you so much, Jean, for coming on and sharing information about the Scarring Alopecia Foundation and all of the good work you guys are doing. And you guys who are watching, if you want to attend the conference, you have Scarring Alopecia, sign up for it, okay? Just sign up and show up. It's just that simple, and be around a group of great people, okay? All right, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. I hope you all enjoyed the rest of your day, and I hope you got value from this episode, and I'll see you next week. All right, bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you for watching the Bougie Baldy podcast. Don't forget to subscribe